You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Well, hello. Welcome to episode 224 of the Soul Forge podcast.
Welcome to the Soul Forge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Sean Vanderloo, as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soul Forge.
Hey everybody out there in podcast land, it's Sean coming at you with another exciting episode of the Soul Forge podcast, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to be talking about. I haven't written anything down, and we're just going to see what happens. Isn't that exciting? I bet it is. Yeah, so are there going to be a lot of pauses? Probably, but with the magic of editing, you will not even notice, and it'll just sound like a free-flowing thought of random things and stuff. So, let's get right into it. What should we talk about? Well, I told Julie that I was going downstairs to record the podcast, and I said I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. And she said, how about you talk about your penis? And I looked at her, and I said, I don't even know what to say about that. So, do you guys want to hear me talk about my penis for 20 minutes? Probably not. Probably as much as I don't want to talk about it, you don't want to listen to it. So guess what? We're not going to do that. Phew! I can hear the collective sigh of release from all 12 listeners out there. So that's pretty great. And I can hear it before you even listening to it because I haven't edited yet. I'm talking right now. And what is it? It is Monday night and this doesn't come out till Thursday. And yet I still hear the collective sigh of release, that relief that I'm not talking about my pee-pee. So there you go. That's it. I won't talk about that anymore. All right, let's keep going. I remember that in a couple previous episodes, I talked about how I had recorded several episodes of that new TV show, Brea. Well, yesterday morning, it was Sunday morning, obviously, and I made myself a coffee, and I watched all 3 episodes that I had recorded before I even got out of bed. Well, after making the coffee, of course. And I wanted there to be about 50 more episodes. It's that good. Spoiler alert, I guess. I'm going to talk about it. There's only 3 episodes, so I'm not really going to give too much away. I'm just going to give you the premise, and maybe you'll watch it. So, there's a family, and it's the mom and her son and daughter. And they're driving through Brea, Hollywood, or wherever the hell that is. LA, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know my American geography. But wherever Brea is, it's by Hollywood, so there you go. And so they're driving along, and they're talking, and blah, blah, blah. And they're saying, Mom, you didn't really have to drive us to school. We're old enough, and you're late for work, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, a great big sinkhole opens up. And they get out of the car and they start running, and the son falls into the hole, and the mom is freaking out, and so she runs back, and she falls in the hole because the hole got bigger. The daughter grabs the mom's wrist before she falls, and the mom says, run, and pries the daughter's hand off of her, and the mom falls too, and later on, the mom wakes up and she's looking for her son and blah, blah, blah. And she's in this strange area and it's like a wide open field and it's very nice. And meanwhile, back on land there, the daughter's freaking out and she's called her dad, and the mom and the dad have a strained relationship and they're kind of split up and blah, 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 all that stuff.
Blah, blah, blah.
No, blah, blah, blah.
Anyway, the gist of the story is that they've fallen into the sinkhole. There's a portal, and so they're 12,000 years in the past. They're around 10,000 BC, and there's giant sloths and saber-toothed tigers and all kinds of different stuff. And there's a whole pile of other people that have landed in this area as well. And you can see like a what do you call it? Like a rift in the sky. It's like a jagged light, bright thing. I don't know. Anyway, that's where the portal, that's where they fell through, and somehow they're not hurt, and there's all kinds of vehicles and other pieces of equipment that have landed with them, and the cars won't start, but the people are fine, and there's bad creatures that are attacking them, and they have to gather food and survive. And meanwhile, the dad is having all these visions, and he's had visions for the last 3 years, and he crashed his plane because he was in the Air Force. And turns out that there was another sinkhole and another portal to the past 3 years ago. That's when he started seeing the visions, and he can see what's happening, and he has to talk to the government people, and they have to believe him that he's not actually crazy. And that's only 3 episodes so far, and there's a lot more going on, and it's so good. It kind of reminds me of that show Terra Nova that came out maybe 10 or 12 years ago. But it's better. That show lasted a season, and I think it took place in the year 2150 something, and they had to travel through the past through a time portal to the dinosaur era because there was overpopulation and pollution and crowding and stuff. Anyway, that show wasn't that great, but this La Brea thing, holy crap, I can't get enough of it. And then there's another episode out tomorrow, and yeah, I'm really enjoying the heck out of it. It's been a long time since I have seen a new show that I'm really interested in. So I highly recommend La Brea. And what else is going on? Let's talk about the Etsy shop. As of today, it's, let's see, it's just about 4 months since I started the store, the shop, Rusted Robot Toys. Check it out on Etsy. And I've made 50 sales so far, so that's pretty good. It's anywhere between 1 and 5 sales every week. Not bad. It's not keeping me super busy or anything, but it's enough to have a little bit of extra spare income, and that's okay. What else can I tell you about it? Let's see. Well, in every order, what you do is you print out the shipping label from your own personal printer, and I just have to bring it to the post office where I work and give it to them, and they either scan it or they don't scan it, depending on what kind of shipment it is, and it goes off, and that's it. So what I do is I pack up all the items very, very carefully, and then I put in the packing label, and I write a nice handwritten letter, or note, or whatever you call it, thanking them for their purchase. Thank you for shopping Rusted Robot Toys. If you'd care to purchase again, use this code for 10% off. If you could leave a 5-star review for my store, that would really help us out as we're a new shop. And also, I hope you enjoy these extra geeky goodies as a bonus just for shopping with us. Some kind of variation on those 4 phrases. And what I do in each order, no matter what they buy, I put in a business card with the Soul Forge on it, and I've printed out some Rusted Robot Etsy stickers so that they can have a quick reference to the shop again. I put in 3 random stickers. I put in 1 gear that I've bought on Amazon, like just little gears like that you would find in a clock or something like that, because we're the Rusted Robot toy shop. So here's a gear from the Rusted Robot. And I put that in a sandwich bag along with the packing label and put that in there, put on some stickers that says, thank you for your order. Then I take the shipping label, tape that to the front of the box. I put a thank you sticker on there that I got from wish.com. And then no matter what it is, whether it's fragile or not, I slap on one of these stickers that I've got here beside me that says, handle with care, fragile, thank you. So I try to go above and beyond, have as much customer service as I can. As soon as the order comes in, I send them a quick message thanking them for their order and letting them know that their order will be shipped the next day. And sometimes they respond and sometimes they don't. I think I've received 13 reviews so far out of 50 sales. So that's not actually bad at all. I've been looking at other people's shops, and lots of people have lots of sales and not lots of reviews. So that's pretty common. It looks like maybe 5% of people will leave a review, or whatever that percentage is. I'm not a mathematician and I don't know that stuff. In fact, math is was my worst subject in school. So there you go. What else can we talk about? Let me think here. I was listening to... Actually, you know what? Before I even get there, let's do the promos for the Dr. Geek's vaccination plug that we have to put in, and a random promo for another podcast here on the ESO Network.
Welcome to Dr. Geek's Laboratory.
Dr. Geek here with another reminder that the ESO Network is pro-science and pro-vaccine. We urge you to be a superhero and protect yourself, your family, and your fellow geeks around the world. Don't be fooled by the forces of evil and their anti-science misinformation campaign. Consult the latest CDC guidelines, your doctor, and get the COVID vaccine today.
Blah, blah, blah.
No, blah, blah, blah!
Hello, I am the monster of the Monster Sci-Fi Show. You may be confused, but I am the superior version of the monster, and not just some variant. Much like me, this podcast is burdened with glorious purpose. I'm here to say this podcast delivers timely sci-fi and pop culture news plus movie and TV commentary reviews. In the end, is this not simpler? Subscribe to the Monster Sci-Fi Show. It's sci-fi. From a certain point of view, the Monster Sci-Fi Show is part of the ESO Network.
Okay, there we go. What was I talking about? I was talking about the fact that I was listening to another podcast today while I was walking at work, the Delta Flyers, which is a Star Trek Voyager rewatch podcast co-hosted by two of the actors that were actually on the show, Garrett Wong and Robert Duncan McNeil, who played Harry Kim and Tom Paris. And before they started talking about this week's particular episode, Robert Duncan McNeil, Robbie, was talking about a book that he had read that the episode reminded him of. And I looked it up on Amazon, and I'm just going to look it up here. And it was called Time and the Art of Living. And so I looked on Amazon, and sure enough, there it was. It was published either in 1982 or 1988. And let me just go to the thing here. I'm not even going to edit out these clicks. It was written by a guy named Robert Grunden. Just looking here, I managed to just order, just before I started talking to you guys, a paperback for $10. Looking at all formats and editions, buy the hardcover from $379.36. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do that. So I ordered the $10 book, and luckily I have Amazon Prime, so I didn't have to get $35 worth of stuff to get free shipping. I automatically get free shipping, so yay, only $10. And what this was, let's see, it says here, Robert Grunden, born in 1938, is an American writer and philosopher, the author of metafictional novel called Book, also Mighty Opposites, Shakespeare and Renaissance, Contrariety, and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm just trying to find some information on this friggin' book for you guys. And there doesn't seem to be a lot. People highly recommend it. There's a lot of good, reviews on Amazon and that kind of stuff. And, here's the book overview. This is a book about time, about one's own journey through it, and, more important, about enlarging the pleasure one takes in that journey. It's about memory of the past, hope and fear for the future, and how they color, for better and for worse, one's experience of the present. Ultimately, it's a book about freedom. Freedom from despair of the clock, of the aging body, of the seeming waste of one's daily routine, the freedom that comes with acceptance and appreciation of the human dimensions of time and of the place of each passing moment on life's bounteous continuum. That's hard to read. For Robert Grunden, living is an art, and cultivating a creative partnership with time is one of the keys of mastering it. In a series of wise, witty, and playful meditations, he suggests that happiness lies not in the effort to conquer time, but rather in learning to bend to its curve, in hearing its music and learning to dance to it. Grunden offers practical advice and mental exercises designed to help the reader use time more effectively. But this is no ordinary self-help book. It is instead a kind of wisdom literature, a guide to life, a feast for the mind and for the spirit. And let's see, paperback, English, 190 pages, 0.065 pounds. And I might also enjoy Rules of Civility by Amortaos, something called Ricardo Sinos by Carl Jung, The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts, The Coddling of the American by Greg Lukianoff, The End of the Affair by Graham Greene, Little Old Lady Who Broke All the Rules by Catherine Engelman, and there's a bunch more. I'm not going to get any of those books. Maybe the Alan Watts books, because he's pretty smart. But anyway, I've never heard of this Robert Grunden guy, but I heard about it on the podcast, and I was like, that sounds like it would be right up my alley. And sure enough, it probably will be. It should probably arrive next week sometime. And I will add it to the list of books that I have to read. And I've got about 30 on the go, but I might read that one next because it does sound very interesting. Maybe I'll do a book review episode. Does that sound like something any of you out there in podcast land would enjoy? A book review podcast? I know that just before the pandemic, Tracy and I were going to do a book review on Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And we never did. And in fact, I talked to Tracy today and I asked her if she'd like to do another episode soon, and she certainly would. It's just a matter of timing. So that's what's going on there. Let's see, what else? Oh, you know what else I ordered? So I've been selling a bunch of crap on Etsy, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with all this money? I guess I could put it away and go on a nice fancy trip, because I've never been on a nice fancy trip, but we can't go on fancy trips because of COVID, and I don't want to have to be involved in tests and all that stuff. I'll wait until the pandemic is completely over before I start traveling. But you know how I'm a big collector, and obviously I'm selling things on Etsy to get rid of a lot of the things that I have, but I'm still a big Star Trek collector at heart, and I've got like 70 Eagle Moss starships. They stopped doing the Starship of the Month subscription service, but I just happened to check their website yesterday just for shits and giggles, I guess, and sure enough, they were having a sale. So what did I do? I ordered a bunch of stuff. I ordered an extra large edition of Deep Space Nine, because I've got all these starships, but I've got no starbase to dock them at, so I had to get Deep Space Nine, and I had to get the extra large version of the original USS Enterprise as seen on Star Trek Discovery, new and updated from the original 60s version. It's pretty cool looking. It's about 25% different from the 60s series Enterprise, but it's the same ship essentially. It's just modern effects, and it looks really cool. So I had to order that, and then I ordered a coffee cup, I guess. That's, let me think if I can remember what it says. I think it just says Logic on it, and the I is actually Mr. Spock standing there. And then I ordered a t-shirt, and it's also got Mr. Spock on it, and it's I think he's doing a lotus position pose, and he's meditating, and the caption reads, "Nothing unreal exists." And everything was on sale for a super good price, and I used the Honey plugin on the computer to get the extra discounts, because if you don't know what Honey is, it's just a plugin that you add, and every time you go onto a website and you're at the checkout, you hit the Honey app, or sometimes it does it automatically actually, and it searches the web for all the discount codes, and it automatically applies anything that works. So not only did I get the stuff on sale, I also got another $15 or $16 off the price. So there you go, the Honey app, or whatever you call it. And I guess those things will arrive, well, who knows when. It'll be a surprise. So that's exciting, because I can always use a coffee mug. I do like my coffee, and I do like a funky t-shirt. And of course, I like starships or prop replicas or that kind of stuff. And even though I'm trying to get rid of things, I still like to collect a few random things here and there. I decided I am not going to get the $2,500 2-foot tall Captain Picard statue. But the guy who sent me the link for that this weekend also sent me a link for the same size statue of Sarah Connor from the Terminator franchise as seen in Terminator 2, with all kinds of weapons and a cigarette hanging out of her mouth and a badass pose. And I think that was like $1,600. And as much as I would like to have that, I'm not going to do it because that's a lot of money. And I guess the final thing you might want to know about is how's the name Trent treating me? Because a couple episodes ago I talked about change your name, change your life, and I changed my name from Sean to Trent on Facebook. And what's happening with that? Well, I don't think of myself as Trent. I'm still Sean. Every once in a while, somebody will make a comment and say, "Who's Trent?" or "How's it going, Trent?" And I'm like, you know what? That's just not me. I'm not Trent. And Richard from Australia, he actually made a comment on that episode as well, where I had talked about how the name Sean was not a very manly name, so Trent was stronger and more masculine. He's like, is that true? Or is that just your perception? Would you ever call Sean Connery not masculine? And I thought about it for a few moments, and I'm like, you know what? He's right. Sean Connery is a super masculine guy. He's got the same amount of syllables in his name as I have in mine. And so it's all basically self-image and self-perception. And you know what? I'm in my 40s, and who cares what people think? I'm just going to be me. So screw it. As soon as Facebook allows me to change back to Sean, that's what I'm going to do. And that's all there is to it. Anything else I wanted to talk about? Just looking around the room. I cleaned up the room because it was a big mess. It had cardboard boxes and product everywhere, and it was a little bit overwhelming. So I straightened that up this weekend. What else did I do? I watched Brea, and I think that's about it. And I thought, what am I going to talk about on the podcast this week? And I had no idea, but apparently I had a lot of little different things to talk about. So there we go. That's pretty cool. And hopefully I get Tracy on the show soon, and maybe Heather. And I keep talking to Jason about getting him back on the show, because he was supposed to do a follow-up to the baby episode where he was going to be a dad, and we did the whole preparing for baby episode. Well, now the kid's almost 2 years old, and we've never done it, so I don't know if that's ever going to happen. There's somebody here in the family that wants to talk about codependency, and I told her that I don't know much about that, but the podcast is all about me learning new things and talking about things that people don't talk about and teaching my audience new and different things. So we just haven't been able to really get our schedules together. So maybe that'll happen one day. And another guy I know survived and overcame addiction, so I want to talk to him about stuff. What about all of you out there in podcast land? What topics do you want to hear about? Do you want to be on the show? Let me know. soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. If you are listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts through your phone or your iPad, whatever, you can leave a 5-star review right from the app itself. I would really appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star review for the podcast. No, I'm screwing that up. I was going to say in the podcatcher of your choice. I don't know how all the other ones work, but if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. It just takes like 2 seconds to hit 5 stars. You can also leave an actual written review if you want. I would like that, but you don't have to. Just leave the 5 stars and hit submit, and it's done. And that takes 2 seconds. And if you could, I would appreciate it. And maybe tell all your friends, family, coworkers, people you hate, all about the podcast, and we'll go from there. So next week will be another exciting episode of the show. Who knows what I'll be talking about? A huge shout out to my British boys, Paul and Dan, who I co-host Cosmic Pizza Podcast with, as well as the Babylon 5 rewatch show, The Epsilon 3. We now have 5 episodes out, so check that out. And I was listening to Stephen Jarman on the Sappy Crap podcast, and they gave me a shout out, and so you should all be listening to Stephen Jarman on the A Play on Nerds podcast network. They do Muppet, Trek, and Sappy Crap, and they're awesome. I love those guys. Love you, Stephen Jarman. Take care, everybody out there in podcast land. Hope you have a great rest of your day, week, life, month, whatever. But until next time, remember, what if, instead of thinking about solving your whole life, you just think about adding additional good things, one at a time. Just let your pile of good things grow. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Soul Forge Podcast. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we hope you'll tune in again next time. Remember that you can visit soulforgepodcast.com for all of our social media links, and don't forget to share the show with everyone you know. The Soul Forge Podcast is your best source for living your best life.
Think about it.
Blah, blah, blah.
No blah, blah, blah.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.